everybody. This is Case from Q101. Normally, of course, on this YouTube channel, I am talking to some of the most exciting and emerging bands in alternative rock. But today is a different day. Today is a very special guest, somebody I am absolutely delighted to talk to, Will Ospreay of AEW fame. Will, how are you?
Wonderful, sir. Doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited for AEW Beach Break, which, of course, is taking place here in Hoffman Estates on May 14th. AEWTix.com. You can get into the building for that. I would highly, highly recommend doing so. Will, it's crazy to think you've now been a full-time AEW guy week in, week out for a little over a year now. When you came into AEW, you were talking a lot about restoring the feeling, which I think would imply that at some point maybe AEW had diverted course from their original message. I am curious, over the last year, how has AEW changed? You know, internally right now, you guys are on such a great run of TV shows. The pay-per-views have been so strong in 2025. It feels like the roster is really working with such great confidence right now. How has AEW changed in the last year that you've been there?
I feel definitely more of like a team atmosphere backstage. I think everybody's pulling in the right direction and there's no ill agenda. But when I say like restore the feeling, like I didn't say that I am restoring the feeling inside. I'm just saying that I am the feeling, and the feeling is that we put on the best professional wrestling matches, and I am the best professional wrestler. Like I said, I am the feeling. The message that AEW sent was just to show the world in ring who are the best professional wrestlers in the world, and that's where I kind of slot myself in as someone that has gone around the world to numerous countries and held championship gold in most of the continents that are out there. So for me, coming into AEW, I feel like the momentum is swinging back our way, and I think a lot of people are excited to see what we're going to be doing leading up to AEW's All In Arlington, Texas, which is going to be like our biggest show in North America, and I'd love for everyone to show up so then that way we can put on one of the best professional wrestling displays out there.
I concur with every statement that was made just there. Of course, AEW Beach Break taking place at the Now Arena in Hoffman Estates. The last time you wrestled in that building, it was September. It was a match that I was in the building for. You know, you're somebody, I followed your career going back to the Matt Sydal matches in Rev Pro a decade ago. You know, that's when you hit my radar, and I've followed every step along the way. You had a match with Pac at the Now Arena for All Out last year. And to me, it felt like your magnum opus. To me, it felt like a litmus test of, if you don't enjoy this, I just have to disregard your opinion to some degree, because I thought it was such a masterclass of pro wrestling. Can you tell me what you remember about that match, and if it sticks in your mind, your memory at all, as being a special match in your career?
Oh yeah, I mean, like every time I get to share the ring with someone of the talent level of Puck, I mean, I will happily say wholeheartedly that like Pac was the bridge for a lot of us British wrestlers to be able to go over to Japan and to make a living and to become exports in our country. Like a lot of people would obviously say people like Dynamite Kid was that guy, but then in our generation of like the British boom on the independent scene, we all look towards people like Pac and Fergal Devitt, who was able to go and make a name in Japan. So anytime that I got to wrestle Pac, it was always like a huge honor and such a pleasure, just because he is without a doubt like one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I feel it gets slept on quite a lot. So when it was time to put this match on at All Out, it was just a case of I wanted to show everybody like the hybrid style of pro wrestling and how much it's evolved and changed. And I feel like a lot of people, like, I mean, this is how much depth our roster has. Like, a lot of people would have saw that match and have gone like, there's no way anyone's topping this match tonight. But then you send out Chris Statlander and Willow, and they completely knocked it out of the park. Like, our roster is completely stacked from head to toe, and there is trust and faith in all of our roster to deliver when it needs to the most.
I'm curious because you've obviously you've wrestled all around the world, and in that time period, you've wrestled so many people that have trained in so many different ways. When you wrestle somebody like Pac, even if it's an AEW or Shingo, even though it's a New Japan, Dragon Gate trained wrestlers, are you able to tell differences between the way that maybe somebody came through a Dragon Gate dojo and then a New Japan dojo, and then, you obviously wrestled Marufuji and Noah. Can you tell differences between all those styles when you're in the ring with them?
Yeah, a lot of the time, like the Dragon Gate guys would be like foot on the gas pedal, where like Marufuji with the Noah style was like very much hard hitting, and like an endurance test
Hmm.
just to see what your pain threshold is like. So there are different styles. Like I mean, New Japan was the traditionalist in Japanese wrestling, where like strong style was kind of like born and raised there. So like there's always like different styles and there's like different evolutions of wrestling, and that's why I kind of hang my hat on being one of the best in the world because I'm one of the last few guys that have actually like wrestled all of the top guys in all the Japanese promotions and all like I mean a few of the Mexican guys like when we done the CMLL shows over in New Japan I got the opportunity to wrestle them. I got to wrestle guys like Dragon Kid, not Dragon Kid, sorry, Dragon Lee. I'd love to wrestle Dragon Kid to be
I would
fair.
love that too. I was just with
Yeah,
him in Las
I'm a
Vegas
big
this
Dragon
past
Kid.
week. It would be great.
I'm a big Dragon Kid mark, man. Like, and then like I like I love testing myself against like other different styles. Like, I mean, I still to this day want to go over to Uganda and go wrestle over there. But like, for me, this was just like it's like always all a learning experience. It's like you don't know what you're capable of until you get thrown in there with guys that are like way better than you. It's all like a chance to learn, really.
I love that. I love that. Where do Marufuji's chops rank among the worst that you've taken? Is he as hard of a chopper as you've ever experienced?
Yeah, like those ones kind of he actually taught me how to throw chops. So when I was over in New Japan for my first year, but I think it was like tour 3 or tour 4,
Mhm.
I went out drinking with Marufuji and the sponsor that was taking us out for dinner was asking Marufuji to chop him and he like hit him so hard and I was asking him what his technique was and like he uses his hand like a little bit of a whip and that's why like he's able to like split skin. Like I was able to do it. Like when I wrestled Kyle in the cage, I
Yeah.
split his skin with my chops, and I was just kind of like, oh, I know Marufuji would be proud of me.
That is fantastic. Well, Will, you mentioned that you've been able to wrestle all of the top wrestlers in all these countries. Anywhere you go for any extended period of time, you've become the top guy. In New Japan, you became the top guy there. In Rev Pro, you became the top guy there. In AEW, you entered into a situation in which you were the top guy and you've stayed on top of that mountain. At some point, do you get sick of old wrestlers telling you that what you're doing isn't working and that you need to change what you're doing? Because clearly, what you've done has worked.
I never get sick of hearing from like different wrestlers like their opinions. Like so, for example, this year, I've been working hand in hand with Jerry Lynn, and
Hmm.
he's really been helping me dissect little pieces of my match, especially when I'm on TV shows. And I won't pull the curtain back too much about it, but like he's been a real eye opener for it. And I like listening to people like Jerry Lynn because like he was never a part of like the style of wrestling that I didn't enjoy watching. Like for me, like I grew up watching like the cruiserweights, Dragon Gate, New Japan, Noah. Like kind of like the underground, like the niche of the niche
Of
of
course.
wrestling. Like 'cause when you say wrestling, I feel like a lot of people instantly think of like John Cena, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and that to me, like although that is wrestling, it's more like entertainment side of things. And I'm not saying like that what they do is wrong, is because everything that they do is just like they knock it out of the park constantly, but it just was never my flavor of ice cream. I enjoyed the underground style and the technique and like the intimacy between wrestler and audience. I always enjoyed that type of connection. So having Jerry Lynn like teach me like little nuggets of information really did has really been helping out my connection with the audience in like learning how to ride waves and like getting them up to like a point where they climax. I know that's the weirdest word to use in wrestling, but like Jerry's like teaching me like the fine art of like making them climax at the right point.
Who are the other mentors you've had along the way? Like, was there somebody in New Japan that really looked after you and made sure that
Oh
you were doing as you should?
yeah, like Okada, man. Like when I first came into New Japan, like I tell this story a few times, but my first tour, my English bank cards like freaked out because I was using it over in Japan. They were like, "What the fuck are you doing over here?" And they shut my bank and I couldn't access any money. So I was like stuck in Japan with no money. And like Okada looked after me, man. Like gave me $1,000 for the tour, like made me like ensured that I like had food in my belly and like made sure like I could like look after myself. So, but not just that, but like he would help me in terms of strategizing and like learning how to dictate paces a little bit better. Because when I was coming up, like I think everyone thought I was like an alien that came from outer space. He managed to like harness it and like tone me down to the point where like I understood. And then like once again, like I said, the only way that you learn is by getting in the ring guys that are better than you. When I got in the ring with Shibata, like he really taught me like so many different styles that I never really looked at and thought like, oh, I could do that. And like, because I was a British luchador in a weird way, and then like to get in the ring with him and to learn strong style from the innovator of strong style was such a blessing.
Absolutely. Well, and it's become this thing. Like I started thinking as I was preparing for this interview, I'm going like, God, like, you've been in my decade in my life for a decade now. I've seen you grow up and I've seen you change, and junior heavyweight to heavyweight, and British star to Japanese star to American star, and in that decade, you've built up this resume that now I don't feel like it's crazy to say that you're nearing, if not at the pantheon of a Kobashi, of a Masawa, of a Negro Casas, whoever you want to say is the greatest wrestler of all time. When somebody says that to you, that like, hey, Will, you are now one of the greatest to ever do this, what do you say to that?
I'm extremely thankful for it because I think for years we looked at the globe of professional wrestling and we said who's the best, and that could be a litany of different things like whoever draws the most, whoever has the best technical ability. But like we in the whole span of that, we look towards like America and we look towards like guys like Brian Danielson and guys like Cena and all those guys, right? Then we look towards Canada, where it was like Bret Hart or Jericho or Kenny Omega, or we look towards Japan, like Masawa Kobashi and Okada and Tanahashi. And our island in England just got skipped upon. Like, even though we produced some of the greatest wrestlers, like Drew McIntyre's like one of my boys. Like, I love that guy. Like, we had such great chemistry, and like I'm so happy for all the success that he's had. But like, there's never like a conversation when it comes to the British guys where it was like they are the best in the world. And I feel honored and proud that like I can represent my country and represent AEW by saying like I'm one of the best wrestlers in the world, and I have this crazy list of like matches now that like a lot of people will be like, well, like fucking name one of them. And the problem is that like there's too many. Like I like there's so many good ones now that like you could go back 10 years and you can go, oh damn, I forgot about this match. And like there's matches that I've even forgotten about that I'm just like, oh, that was like one of my favorite matches. And then there's matches that like have gone like completely under the radar. Like someone tweeted something a little while ago where I wrestled a guy called Curtis Chapman, who like sadly has passed away. But like that was one of my like favorite matches that I've like ever done because it was in this small intimate venue called the 229 with Revolution Pro Wrestling, and it was at best 300 people in there, and they're just losing their mind on every little fall scene. It's because we just played these like incredible stories, and it's just I cannot like sit here and say like I think I'm the best, but like I'm like honored that people like there's a large majority of people that share that opinion and are rooting for me to succeed, especially because like once upon a time I feel like I in my younger years, I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and I feel like I had a lot of growing up to do and self discovery. And the fact that now I'm on the other side of that, I have this amazing missus and this beautiful stepson to like thank for it. And like I've completely adapted and changed, and like I just want to be a company guy, and I want the faith of the audience to basically put the responsibility on me because I do think I can be the guy.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit because again, I've been a fan and a follower for so long, and like there's a point in time where you'd see Will Ospreay going at it with people on Twitter, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, but you've always been this lightning rod of conversation. Will Ospreay does something, people talk about it, and they talk about it passionately and intensely, whether they like it or they don't. And I feel like on my end, like I've seen you, from afar chill out and calm down. And what's your relationship like now with the internet? If if you read a bad comment about you, is it gonna ruin your entire day, or where are you at with that?
No, I've got to the point in my life now where like I take responsibility and ownership over anything that I ever did because I feel like I use social media more as a diary rather than a promotional tool to promote things. And I was super uneducated about a load of topics that like I didn't really have full understandings of, and because it was so personal to me, I echoed out my thought chamber, and it was just kind of like I was uneducated to the things that were going on around me. Like you got to remember, like I'm a flipping autistic boy that like doesn't know anything other than professional wrestling. So then when stuff would pop off and like I would almost use it as like a way to like vent and like, but the reality is, and no one gives a toss about my opinion. I don't even care about my opinion. My life stance right now is just kind of like I I've had a lot of growing up to do, and I'm honoured that like a lot of people have given me like second chances or even third chances to really show how much this position and this spot really does mean to me, because like I do want to be like when I look in the audience and I see like little boys get excited that I'm coming out, like that's special to me, like that I've got like such a grand connection with those audience members, and like I've had to just crawl my way back to this position like by crawling through like broken glass and just wanting to just show people my care, my love, and my enthusiasm for that connection. I don't really take things to heart anymore because I can't be everybody's cup of tea. Like I might be a little bit overbearing, and like especially growing up, man. Like I was in a small area in Essex where like nothing really happened, and then all of a sudden I got chucked into the second biggest promotion in the world, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're an ambassador for British wrestling." I was like, "I'm just some dickhead from Essex, mate." Like you know, so and like super uneducated, and I'm at this point now where like I understand the responsibility that is in front of me, and I don't want to let that go. So I've harnessed in, I've locked in my whatever's going on in my brain slows down because of like all the things that I do to do it. But like more importantly, I want my son to when he's grown up and he looks back, and if he ever did ask about my wrestling and like was ever interested in it, that there's a point where he just goes like he can look back and just say like like he done a good fight.
I think that's beautifully said, Will. I really I admire that outlook. Let me hit on two more things before we go. I know your time is limited, but obviously it was announced a few weeks ago, and I interviewed Tony Khan, and he hinted at this, and then I talked to Rocky Romero a few weeks ago, and then he hinted about this, and then right after Rocky left the Q101 studios, it was announced AEW is going to Mexico, Grand Slam Mexico. It's Wednesday, June 18th from Arena Mexico. It's your first time wrestling in Mexico, correct?
Yes, it'll be the first time.
How excited are we? I was speaking to somebody who said perhaps you're a little bit nervous about going to Mexico. Your thoughts on that travel, what you're looking forward to there, and is there anybody on the CMLL roster that you are particularly excited about possibly wrestling?
Dorado might be a cool one. Like,
Hmm.
I think that'll be good. Like, Mystico's always great as well, just because he's an icon in Mexico. He's like super famous. So he's just, I feel like I would love to experience that. And like now getting to say, I feel like there's a small list of people that have worked Tokyo Dome, Wembley Stadium, Madison Square Garden, and Arena Mexico. There's like a small list of people, and now I get to be one of those guys on that list, which is such an honor, and I'm dead excited. It's been a long time coming, but the one thing I am going to ask is I need someone of a high standard in CMLL to take me to go get some proper tacos. I am so flipping excited. I cannot tell you enough how much I am excited for Mexican food. I love Mexican food so much, and to actually get authentic tacos is going to be one of the greatest things that I'll ever do in my wrestling career.
Oh my goodness. Well, Will, I can't wait for that. Of course, after you go there, please report back to us. Let us know how the Mexican food was. Last thing I want to hit on, sticking with international stuff here. Forbidden Door London is coming up at the O2 Arena. That's going to be on August 24th. It's fitting that it's happening in 2025 because 10 years ago, it was October 3rd, 2015, in Reading. You wrestled Okada on a Rev Pro show. Talk to me about who Will Ospreay was on October 3rd, 2015, and how that match changed your life. And let us, I think, unironically, directly led us to Forbidden Door London here on August 24th.
I mean, listen, I was a 22-year-old boy who was working at a mastic firm. If you don't know what mastic is, it's the rubber seals by your bathrooms and windows.
Okay.
I would do that Monday to Friday. And then from Friday to Sunday, I'd be a professional wrestler. I didn't have enough money to even afford a gym membership. I struggled so hard with imposter syndrome because a lot of the times I would be the chosen guy to wrestle a lot of these imports, like you even said, like I wrestled Matt Sydal and AJ Styles, and like I struggled understanding who I was, and then from that moment that I wrestled Okada, I had Gator ringside, who's the booker. I had Tiger Hattori, who was the president. I had Hiroshi Tanahashi, who's now the president, but he was the top ace backstage. And as soon as that match was done, I had the New Japan guys and the office all come up to me and said, "We're going to bring you in for the Super Juniors." And just thought like that was such like I always wanted to do the Super Juniors. It was like a mad, crazy thing. And then I think it was like 3 months later, WWE signed AJ Nakamura and the Bullet Club, and AJ Styles told the office that maybe you should sign Will. It'd be a great long-term investment. And for 8 years from that point, I was a New Japan boy. I was on the first ever Forbidden Door show. I was one of the guys that they put in a position of trust because on that show, I think a lot of people were really clamoring for Bryan Danielson and CM Punk and Kenny Omega, and none of them were on the show. So the weight of the world got dumped onto me, and myself and Orange Cassidy went out there and completely stole that show. I stand here now as someone who's proud that I got to spend 8 years in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's the tattoo is of the lion mark is on my arm with Ryo Goku and the four incredible dates I wrestled in that arena. I now fly the flag for AEW. I'm blessed to be a part of like this amazing team and this amazing roster. Like super overwhelmed when I look at our roster of guys and just think I feel like I'm below quite a lot of people on our roster because a lot of people have these incredible experiences, but the fact that there are members of the roster that are like that are calling me the quarterback, which I don't know what that's an American football term, and I have no idea what that is. I'll say the I'll say the center forwards for
It's very
England.
good. Quarterback is very good. You want to be that.
I understand. I prefer the center forwards for, but uh, and and now it's one of those things where 10 years later. I can fully say that I am comfortable in my abilities. I feel like I have captured the imagination and the attention of what everybody wants out of AEW when they hear this is where the best wrestle, and then I'd say this is where Billy wrestles. And for me, nothing is going to make me feel prouder. Especially, I've never wrestled in the O2, and I've always wanted to wrestle in the O2. Like I have a I watched a, I think it was a SmackDown taping, and they had Matt Sydal on an ECW taping, and they had all those guys. And I was in the nosebleed seat, so I think like it's like section 417, which is like right up top in the nosebleed seats. I'm gonna try and find what seat it was, and the fact that like you could have told me then that I'd be wrestling, like I'd be the poster boy for the show, and I would not believe you. And the fact that a company that isn't WWE, that is a beautiful partnership with AEW, CMLL, New Japan, Ring of Honor, and Stardom, and hopefully that I really do hope we can get RevPro on there because they was such a huge hand in my upbringing and my journey in pro wrestling. Like I would really love to have the British Heavyweight Championship defended on that show. The fact that I am even talking to you about this is truly a blessing, and I want everybody, like even if you're not wrestling fans, just to experience this beautiful night because I truly believe, like, even if you don't know what wrestling is, the moment that you walk through that door, all you need to know is I grew up 35 minutes away from this building. I think it's a 25-minute train from my house. And I think if you ask the educational system and if you looked at my grades when I was in school, I'd probably be deemed as a failure. but I'm the only person in my school that is earning money in some type of performance art. And I want to show people that, like, you can have the roughest start and you can have people doubt you through quite a lot of this. You can not enjoy wrestling, but this is something that I've put my heart and my soul into. And the fact that I'm going to be front and center for that show truly is a blessing and a huge responsibility that I'm willing to take on and ready for that responsibility.
I have nothing else to add. I think that's incredibly well said. Really, I appreciate that, Will. Well, that is August 24th. If you are in the United States and specifically the Chicagoland area and you want to see Will before that, again, AEW Beach Break, that is going to be a live Dynamite and a Collision taping. Hoffman Estates at the Now Arena, the infamous Now Arena on May 14th, AEWTix.com for all your ticketing info there. Will, I won't take up any more of your time. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, boss man. I really do appreciate the kind words.
Have a good one.
You too, sir. Take care.